It is quite likely that Russia is receiving a lot of aid when it comes to especially artillery shells, even bulletproof vests, helmets, various types of body armor, which comes to Russia from various sources. There have been vessels making journeys across the Caspian Sea from Iran with equipment, apart from just the famous Shahed drones, the suicide drones that Russia has been using. When it comes to Chinese military aid, it is likely that it is going through North Korea, as the Chinese, they know that they have the world's eyes on them, and they don't want to send any direct flights going from Beijing to Moscow of military transports. Here, the North Koreans are quite a convenient way of sending military aid. There were recent reports about not sending finished artillery shells, but rather sending the explosives and various fuels and other components that are needed in the production of munitions in North Korea, which is then later on transported to Russia through the direct border that is between North Korea and parts of eastern Russia. So there certainly is this effort on both sides that the Ukrainians, they do receive help from NATO plus, you could say, as some other countries are also involved. Morocco, for example, sent T-72 tanks and other types of military hardware as well. And then on the other side, George W. Bush would have probably called it the axis of evil. But certainly Iran, North Korea, and China are aiding Russia, even though it has to be said that China, since they want to keep it under the rug, so to say, they are certainly not sending as much aid as they could have. It will be very interesting to see what comes out of this trip that the Chinese president Xi Jinping he is in Moscow as we speak right now. It's his second or third day. I lost count now how long he has been in Moscow. But naturally, Putin will be asking for as much help as possible. The question is Xi Jinping determined enough, and does he believe that Russia's victory in this war is paramount for China as well? Is he willing to step out of the shadows, so to say, and start sending large quantities of military to Russia, or is he not? This is actually one of those factors that could be having a very huge impact on the war. Maybe not decisive, but certainly it would play an enormous role. It would. And as you mentioned, when it comes to artillery shell production, this is again something that the Poles remember. During their own war against the Red Army, the Bolsheviks, in 1920, there was a lot of military aid coming to Poland. There was some coming from France. There were also some attempts from the UK, from Czechoslovakia. However, it was stopped by various trade unions that had their sympathies with the Reds, so to say. The aid, it mainly came from France, from Hungary, which sent enormous quantities of ammunition. But there were also American volunteers flying in the Kosciuszko Squadron, for example, which is another example that we have been hearing some about in recent days. There was an interview recently with one of America's most experienced F-16 fighter pilots, who said that if the F-16s are sent to Ukraine, he is absolutely willing to go as a volunteer to continue flying for Ukraine. And there are some theories that it would be possible to find a good 9, 10, 11, 12 maybe pilots of that sort, people who have experience.
Yes, I mean, we've got to draw to an end, but of course one of the problems with the modern F-16s or any of the modern planes, it's not just a question of the pilot being able to fly them. You've got to have the maintenance, because this modern equipment is very complicated, and you've also got to reprogram everything so that they can be properly identified by your friends. and not be shot down by accident.
Yes, yes.
But this is a continuing story. No doubt we'll be back to it. But thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
Adam, always a pleasure. Well, there we have it, a very interesting cant around the course. I forget who it was who said history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And certainly when we look back in Polish history with various Russian invasions, and we look at the Russian invasion of Ukraine now, there are some alarming parallels. But hopefully, eventually, there will be a solution which actually works. So thank you for watching this edition of Poland Daily History, and we look forward to seeing you next time.